all citizens of the globe, right? But as individuals, do we really have that much in common? Find out on Talking with Henrietta, coming up next. I'm Henrietta. Welcome to the show. We hear often that being a part of the human species, we all have many things in common, and that there is something called the human condition that transcends our perceived differences. One organization has set out to prove that this idea is true. The organization is called the Global Lives Project. The idea for the organization developed in 2004 in San Francisco. On this show, we'll discuss why the idea of our commonality is so important and why the organization is working to develop projects that spread this concept. David Harris, the founder of the Global Lives Project, is here with me in the studio, along with Erin Angel, a teacher at Palo Alto High School, and Nadia Leinhos, who is a sophomore at Pali and a student of Erin's. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure having you with me. So let's start at the beginning. David, how did you get the idea for Global Lives Project?
Well, thanks for asking, and thanks for having me on the show, Henrietta. The idea for Global Lives was actually an idea that I had when I was in college. I was doing a junior year study abroad program, and I was lucky enough to get to spend 8 months traveling with a small group of students to 5 different countries. I lived with families in Tanzania, India, the Philippines, Mexico, and the UK. I lived in a bamboo house in the Philippines, in a former squatter settlement in Mexico City, in a mansion in New Delhi with 5 servants. And that experience of sharing the intimate day-to-day life of these families around the world was something that just really deeply changed me and changed how everything in my life worked once I got back to the United States. I couldn't read a newspaper article about the Philippines or without thinking about the people, the individuals that I knew. And I wanted to know more. I wanted to understand more deeply how the actions that I took affected people in other parts of the world. And then, above all, I really wanted to share that experience with other people and get them into a space where we could really have a conversation about what our relationship is with people on the other side of the planet.
So when you say you wanted to know how your actions affected other people, what actions are you talking about?
All sorts of actions, like when I buy a new shirt or when I buy a laptop or a phone. Who are the people that are making those things, and what are their lives like? And are they like me? And do I really think that the conditions of their lives and that relationship that we have is really a relationship that's just, or that I believe in? Or what happens when I vote and my elected officials? How do their decisions here in the United States affect the lives of individual people in other parts of the world? I think we're a lot more connected than we realize through the economy and through politics and even through our environment.
So what you're saying is we are really globally connected. And so I think we have a video. It might have been one of your first videos. And I'll be notified when we can see it. In the meantime, Erin, how did you get involved in this project?
Well, our school librarian, Rachel Kellerman, and also a fellow teacher, Esther Wojcinski, gave us a little email introduction to David and facilitated a conversation digitally between David and myself and Eric Bloom, another teacher, a friend of mine. And we got together over the summer and a little bit at the end of last year to try and see if we could bring the Global Lives exhibit to Palo Alto High School. And so we got together and we sat down, we looked at the curriculum that Global Lives had, and it was just a natural fit for what we were looking to do with our program and sort of David's vision for Global Lives.
We will get more into the vision, we'll get more into the curriculum. Is the video ready at the moment? Yes. Okay, so let's see one of the first videos that you did.
The goal of the Global Lives Project is to videotape 24 hours in the daily lives of 10 people from all over the world. Right now we're here in Sao Paulo, Brazil, doing our second shoot for the project.
We are a collective of dozens of filmmakers, artists, architects, programmers, and everyday people from all around the planet.
We're going to end up with 240 hours of footage, and the idea is to take all this footage and create a video installation. And the visitor to this installation will be able to walk through 10 different rooms, and each of the rooms will have the unedited footage of each of our subjects. The point of this is to really take people out of their own daily lives and bring them into the realities of people from all walks of life, from all over the world.
The first Global Life shoot took place in San Francisco, California, with cable car driver James Bullock.
Yeah. This is mouth burning thing. Yeah, we just go across the street.
Additional shoots are already taking place in other countries.
Quando eu me vi só nesse lugar, eu pensei que preciso sair pra me libertar. Seja com quem for, a minha vida é cantar.
Through immersion in this small but diverse sampling of daily human existence, viewers will be challenged to rethink both their own lives and their connections with the rest of the world.
Eu beijava seu pinto, sua boca, sua face. Tudo que eu pedisse, só você que me desse. Aí pensando Deus se esse quarto falasse.
Check out our website at globallives.org to find out how to get involved in the Global Lives Project.
Se eu ouço a voz dela é através de alô. Se passou pela favela é porque alguém me falou. Então já que me deixou.
So Nadia, before I get back to David, what does this mean to you and how are you involved?
Well, like they said in the video, it makes you think about other people's lives. As a student in Palo Alto High School, there's a lot of, we live in kind of a bubble from the rest of the world. We see what's going on, but we don't exactly connect to it. And seeing other people's lives, 24 hours, what they're doing while we're doing whatever we're doing, they're doing some of the same things we are. And it connects you to the people around you in a way that you don't usually see.
That's quite interesting. What was there about the cable car driver? He was the first video, or the video on him was the first one after you made your trip.
Yeah. So after I had the idea to start Global Lives, I told a lot of people about the idea. Most of them thought I was pretty crazy. And then after a couple of years of people thinking I was crazy, finally one friend of mine wanted to actually do it. And so we started thinking, oh, who's the first person we're going to record? And we started collecting a lot of demographic data about the world. And one of the things about the world is that only about 1% of the people in the world have a college degree. And so we wanted the first 10 people who we recorded to be roughly representative of the population of the world, which would mean that if you just pick 10 random people from around the world, there would be a 90% chance that none of them would have a college degree. So I had just graduated from college, and so most of my friends were either about to graduate from college or had. And so I started looking for someone, and around that same time, I got invited to a party at James's house. And it was his shed party. He throws a party every year.
This is the cable car driver.
Yeah, sorry, James Bullock is the cable car driver. And so
How did you connect with him to get invited to a party at his house?
Yeah, so a friend of mine from college, her parents were friends with James. And James and his wife throw this party, and it's the birthday of the shed in their backyard that they built. It's a really, they don't have kids, and so it's, the shed's birthday party. It's actually a really nice shed in San Francisco. So I went to the party. James is a really social guy, and I actually found out at the party that someone had done a series of photos with him, just following him for a day, taking stills, and they were really good. And you could tell that James was comfortable on camera. He spent some time attending college, but he never got a college degree, which was good. And he was just a really friendly guy.
Good for your film.
Yeah, very good for the film. Yeah, we wanted to find kind of everyday people. We didn't want all of the 10 people to be anomalous, but also we wanted people who could be comfortable on film, right? And that's not everyone. And if it's someone who's just by having the camera in their life is going to be so uncomfortable that it changes their life in a serious way, that's probably not the right person for the shoot.
So what was there, how did it go? And was he the right choice? What was interesting about him?
Well, he has a kind of iconic job of being a cable car driver in San Francisco, and I've tried to stay away in the subsequent shoots from those kind of iconic jobs, but it was really interesting. He interacts with a ton of people all throughout the day from all over the world, and he has really interesting conversations with them. He was not shy. In fact, there was a big question: are we going to videotape in the bathroom? And he was totally okay with everything. We actually had to cut the shower scenes afterwards when we decided to put it on the internet. Yeah, he by the end of the day, he got a little tired of us being in the bathroom with him, so he shut the door. We learned that it's fine to just we would record the handle of the door and kind of wait for the person to come out. We got his feet while he was standing at the urinal.
So Aaron, what is there about this, ideas, concepts like this, that's worth sharing with your students?
I like that it does such a masterful job of conveying to students that in the differences that there are similarities. So it honors the differences, but those differences don't somehow subsume the similarities. And I like that, and I think that gets past some of the curriculum that I've seen as a teacher around empathy building. Some of the primary issues I find with that especially for the older students, is you get into these kind of corny sort of stereotypes about empathy and how you build empathy in people, and they're not bad, but especially when you want to get students who might be I don't know, have experienced that, or looking for something new, something fresh, something different, or something that resonates on a deeper level with them, especially what's appropriate for older students. This does that.
So what is it that would resonate with you? Erin talked about the differences, she talked about the similarities. What is it in a video about a cable car driver or some of the videos that you've seen that struck something for you? I won't say struck a bell as a cable car driver, too.
Well, when I was watching James's video, I think one of the first things I noticed was he had a personality just by walking. It was interesting. The audio on the exhibit that we saw wasn't exactly on point, but you saw through his motions that he was like a little bit of his personality. He was confident. He was not afraid to be videotaped while changing. And I remember some of the other students kind of gathered around, like, is he actually going to change on film? But and those people kind of walked away after a while. But once you notice the little things, then it's hard to look away, because he's just he's a human being, and he's doing what he does throughout the day, and it's fun to see. It's like the mask that people around me sometimes wear was not present on James, and it was a.
How can you tell?
I don't know. The way he walked, I think, was a great. I don't know. It was like he had a place to be. He had a purpose, and he was going to get there, get things done right then. And that was cool.
So tell me, David, people who would let you into their lives for 24 hours, some would call them exhibitionists. So what type of people do you look for?
Well, we actually, when we started doing the Global Live shoots, we call those people the subject. Then one of my collaborators brought up the point that, subject really makes them sound kind of passive, and it makes them sound like the camera's on them. So actually that collaborator came up with this idea to call them, instead of the subject, the on-screen participant, to emphasize the fact that they are really participants in the Global Lives project, very actively opening up their life for 24 hours to a camera crew. And we also get them to do a life story interview where they share the whole story of their life, which could go from half an hour to a couple of hours. So, we look for people who at least on some level get what Global Lives is about. They get that they are participating in a project that's about sharing and exchanging through digital media, through exhibits at schools, exhibits at museums, through the internet, sharing their life in a very active way with the rest of the world. And that's the first thing. We want to make sure they understand what they're getting themselves into.
And there's no pay involved.
No. We have it's kind of a documentary filmmaker and a journalist ethos that as much as you would like to compensate them for the big gift that they're giving, you don't want to pay them, because then that creates a kind of inequitable relationship where they might be performing for the camera, and that kind of goes against the integrity of the work.
Aaron mentioned the idea of empathy. Mm-hmm. So I assume from that there is a purpose other than simply hearing someone's story. Mm-hmm. So what's the purpose behind the whole project, or some of the purposes?
Yeah. Well, so Global Lives is really, it's not just my project. There have been about 2,000 volunteers that have worked to produce Global Lives over the last 10 and a half years. And the biggest percentage of those is translators. The second biggest would be filmmakers, camera crews, photographers. So all of those people, the great majority of them are volunteers. And they're doing this because they believe in Global Lives. So all of those 2,000 people have a purpose in being involved in it. And so, when I tell you my purpose or my purposes, they're just mine. And that is not enough of a reason for Global Lives to exist, because on my own it wouldn't exist. That said, I think a lot of it goes back to what I said to you, this desire to get people to do what is our motto, step out of your world. I think that the world would be a much better place if all of us could every so often just change places, change lives, change bodies and existences with someone else totally different from us, someone else on the other side of the world. And
would it make us appreciate what we have more? And we'd be running back.
It could be, or depending who you are, it could make you realize things that you don't have, and things that you want, or things that you might be deprived of, and that you think you deserve. And that's another piece. A lot of people, when I've taken and shown Global Lives in other countries, they see the video of James and they say, wait, he's a cable car driver? Wait, so he's basically a bus driver, but look at his house. It's an amazing house, and you know, and he goes surfing in the morning, and you know, how can a bus driver have such a great life? And his wife is worked as a construction supervisor, and you know, two people who are, you know, basically manual laborers in San Francisco have a really high quality of life, material standard of living compared to what you would see in other parts of the world. So you know, that's another conversation that we want to have is I never wanted Global Lives to be just for American audiences, and I think a lot of the filmmakers and the crews and the translators really share that. I had a filmmaker from Malawi, a translator from Malawi who had been volunteering for Global Lives, say that she lives in the UK, and she shows her daughter the clips of Edith, who's a teenage girl from Malawi whose life we recorded. She shows her daughter the clips of Edith so she knows what it would have been like if she had grown up back in Malawi. And this is a Malawian woman living in the UK. So, you know, there are a lot of different reasons why people like Global Lives and people are interested in it.
So, Erin, that being said, you mentioned empathy. And how do students have, what's the purpose of developing empathy? And how do these videos, do you think,
That's a huge question. I love it.
best inspire or encourage your students to develop empathy?
Well, so I teach English, and it's my belief that the function of literature is to recognize the human experience and to help people connect their experiences with something larger than themselves. And I think that people derive comfort from that. I think that they derive happiness from that, and I think that it makes people more peaceful. That's a side note. In Global Lives, the curriculum is set up in such a way that accompanies the exhibit, where students start with understanding yourself, what are the obstacles to understanding others, and then understanding others. And in understanding something about yourself, you can also understand something about others, and vice versa. Seeing and recognizing something that flips that switch in you, in somebody else's life, and then you can discover something about yourself you didn't know.
For example?
Well, okay, good example. We, in our induction week with our program, we showed some videos of Jana, and we showed some videos of Edith, and we showed some videos of Rumi.
Now, Jana is from what country?
Kazakhstan?
Yeah.
Kazakhstan?
And Rumi?
Is from Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, and Edith is from Malawi.
And these are all students?
Yes, actually, yes. Jana is young. Would be like elementary school age. And Rumi is she high
College
school?
student.
College? Okay. And Edith is middle. So in seeing students who are in a variety, I mean, very interesting spectrum of day-to-day activities, we were able to ask our students, what do you see that is familiar to you? And initially, there may be something that they're not familiar with. That's not what my school looks like. That's not what my home looks like. That's not what my day-to-day experience is. But with the curriculum guiding them to, okay, it's easy to recognize the differences, but let's go in and let's see what the similarities are. And for example, with Rumi, with Edith, they have challenges to their day that may be different than the challenges to some of our students' days, but they recognize that they have challenges as students. And it's able to contextualize our students' challenges, I think, in a broader context.
So, Nadia, what video have you seen, and how long have you been exposed to this project first?
Well, we started watching the Global Lives videos maybe the first week of school. I think
In September?
Yes, in August actually. I think the first one I remember, it's like the first page of my notebook actually. We watched Jana's video. It was a 3-minute clip, and that was the introduction to the entire year for us, really. And I don't know, I think that's the one I remember the most and the one that I connect with the most because Jana actually reminds me of my younger sister.
So I was going to ask you which of the videos you have seen
Okay.
is the one that resonates with you the most, and you mentioned that one, and it's not because that was the very first. There was something about it. You said she
Yeah.
reminds you of your younger
Yes.
sister.
Just, again, with the personality showing through. I don't know, we watched, the 3-minute clip had a lot of her just playing with her friends, and I saw a little bit of the spiritedness of my younger sister in that as well. And I think that's the one that sticks in my head the most, I guess, because of that. But I'm not sure. I think Edith also, I connected to Edith a little bit as well.
Was she the student from Malawi?
Malawi, yes. I don't remember hers as much since we watched it at the very beginning of the year, but there was a point where she's standing in line, getting ready to go to school, right? And she's very ready. She's standing up straight. She's poised, but she's very eager to go inside and very eager to learn. And I saw a little bit of myself in her as well.
So what does seeing these videos, do you feel, add to your life?
Well, aside from seeing my younger sister in a child halfway around the world, I don't know. It's the connection I see. I've talked a lot about personalities, and I think seeing those, I remember saying, "Oh, I could be friends with Edith. I could have a great conversation with Rumi. She seems like a really nice person." Like connecting in that way, wondering what I would do if I met them face to face.
So we can see another video. And in the meantime, while that's being queued up, how did a curriculum develop? You went from people saying to you, "Oh, you're crazy," to having a curriculum in the school system.
Yeah, well, so as soon as I started actually producing the videos, my mom, who's a second grade teacher, started asking me to come to her classroom and show the videos. And you know, it was fun, so I went and showed the first couple of videos to some second graders, and then she kept asking me to come back, and after a while I had said, okay, wait, give me some time, I'm going to finish the first 10 videos, and then maybe we can do something serious with schools. And so I kind of put off the schools thing for about 4 years, but over those years, people kept coming back to me, teachers, and I just kept saying, hang on, hang on. And so finally we finished the first 10, and then 2 people joined my board of directors very specifically with the intent to create an education program for the Global Lives Project. And it happened that they both had master's degrees from Stanford School of Education, specifically in this program called International Comparative Education. And they went to one of their former teachers named Denise Pope, who teaches a class in curriculum design, and asked her if she could set up something so that some of her students could write a curriculum for Global Lives. And 3 of her students, graduate students at Stanford, spent a quarter writing this curriculum for Global Lives. Then we, with the help of a couple other organizations, especially one that I know you're a fan of, Facing History and Ourselves, that has a big education program, we started getting it out to teachers, asking them what they thought, getting it into classrooms, middle schools and high schools, getting feedback, and we're now on the 3rd version. And I've just given away my last copy of it, but we've printed more, and the curriculum is called Unheard Stories, so you can imagine me holding it up right here.
Sure, I meant to bring it with me,
yeah.
quite frankly. I had a copy and said, oh, I don't have it.
Well, you can download a PDF of it on our website, globallives.org. It's free, and we have print copies available too. But yeah, so now somewhere around 1,000 teachers around the world have copies of this curriculum and are using it. A lot of those teachers have had exhibits in their schools. Some of those have been exhibits that I've built and brought to schools. Others are schools around the world that have gotten together all sorts of combinations of projectors, computer monitors, big screen TVs, gathered them up in rooms and created their own Global Lives exhibits.
And is this, I go back to what Erin said in terms of creating empathy, but is it also supposed on some level, supposed to create human understanding, having people identify with other people who seem to be different from themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for me, I approach Global Lives from a perspective more as being, I'm trained as a sociologist. I also think of Global Lives as a work of video art or experimental conceptual video art. But then when the students from Stanford and the professor got into it, making curriculum is a real results-driven thing. And when you write a curriculum, you want to make sure that at the end of that curriculum, when it's been delivered, that the students learned very specific things. And so the curriculum is aligned to the Common Core standards in English and social studies and history for grades 6 through 12, and also to the state of California's visual arts and performing arts standards around media literacy. So by the end of that curriculum, yes, there's a very specific goal that we have, having developed that, or that the people who developed it have, and that the educators who are using it have, about really deepening people's understanding and appreciation for differences and similarities between people in different places. To me, one of the big questions that I like to ask, beyond just empathy, is what are the boundaries of your moral universe? Where does your universe of obligation start, and where does it end? We all agree that we have, or at least most of us agree, we have a certain amount of responsibility to our family, or to the people, our neighbors, our extended community, the town that we live in, to people we see on the street. There's some level of responsibility. What about people in other states, in other countries, on the other side of the world, people of other religions?
Some would even question whether people walking the streets feel that they have any responsibility to the people that they meet.
Absolutely.
For example, they're homeless people. Yeah. And do you find people walking by them who feel that they have any responsibilities whatsoever?
There are a lot of people who have the ability to block that out.
Sure, and before we start talking about responsibility and some other aspects of Global Lives, maybe we can see the next video and see what we might be supposed to see in this one.
पहले तो गांव में मैं दिहाड़ी मजदूरी करने शुरू बने, फिर मैं दिल्ली में आ गया अपनी सिस्टर के पास। मेरे जीजा जी ने मेरे को दिल्ली प्रेस में झंडे वाले पे मेरे को हेल्परी में लगवा दिया, ट्रक के ऊपर काम सीखा, ड्राइवरी सीखी। वहाँ पे 7 ट्रक थे, सातों ड्राइवर मेरे को बहुत प्यार करते थे, सातों के सातों मेरे को ड्राइवरी सिखाते थे। बस 1 महीने के अंदर इन्होंने मेरे को गाड़ी चलाना सिखा दिया। मेरा नाम प्रकाश सिंह है, मेरी उम्र 45 साल की है। मैं दिल्ली में ड्राइवरी करता हूँ और फिलहाल द्वारका स्कूल में ड्राइवरी कर रहा हूँ। 12-13 घंटे की ड्यूटी पड़ जाती है यहाँ पे। जैसे हम आते हैं सुबह घर से 5 बजे निकलते हैं, 5:30 बजे निकलते हैं, 6 बजे तक स्कूल में पहुँचते हैं, बस निकालते हैं, बच्चों को लेके आते हैं, छोड़ते हैं। पहले मैंने DTC में काम किया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बेस पे, काफ़ी 6 साल तक काम किया, वहाँ कोई हासिल नहीं हुआ। उससे पहले ब्लू लाइन चलाई दिल्ली में, उसमें 18-19 घंटे की ड्यूटी होती थी। सुबह 5 बजे जाते थे, रात के 12-1 बजे बज जाता था। यहाँ 12,000 के आसपास सैलरी मिल जाती है। काम कम है, पैसे कम है। वहाँ काम ज़्यादा था, पैसे भी ज़्यादा थे, लेकिन आराम है। ड्राइविंग लाइफ बहुत बिजी है, बहुत डेंजरस काम है। हमेशा घर वाले भी चिंता में रहते हैं जब तक घर में नहीं पहुँचते हैं। जब घर में पहुंच जाते हैं, जब इनको शांति आती है, हमारा पति, हमारा भाई, हमारा बेटा घर पे आ गया। मेरा अजीब सपना था कि दिल्ली में आया है, कुछ तो अपना होना चाहिए। और यहाँ भी अपना गांव छोड़ के, देहात छोड़ के यहाँ किराए पे रह रहे हैं, तो बहुत मेरे को अफसोस हो रहा था। मैं ये सोचा था अपना मकान हो जाए ना, एक मेरा बहुत बेस्ट हो जाएगा। फिर खूब मेहनत करी, अपना मकान हो गया और उसको बनाया बहुत अच्छी तरह से और हम उसमें रह रहे हैं। मैं बहुत खुश हूँ। मेरी स्थिति इसलिए बढ़िया है कि मेरी जॉइंट फैमिली है, मेरा परिवार मेरे साथ है। आगे के प्लान है, मैं बस जब तक स्कूल में काम कर रहे हैं, बट बेटे को मारे। आदमी के पास कितना ही पैसा हो, जब उसके घर में खुशी नहीं है तो बेकार उसके लिए पैसा, कोई पैसा नहीं है, कोई मायने नहीं रखता। अगर खुशी है तो सब कुछ है। मेरा पापा मेरे को बोला, पप्पू तू कितना पैसा कमा लिया जिंदगी में, ये पैसा साथ जाने वाले नहीं है। इंसान की इज्जत करो, उसे प्यार प्रेम करो, ये तुम्हारे साथ जाएगा।
Well, in this video, we saw a person from India who was a bus driver, who came from the country, got a job, later brought his family, built a house, and of course they all work very hard now, don't they? What more is it that shows us?
So actually, when I see that, my father actually is a truck driver. So when he talks about spending all day, 12, 13 hours driving, that's what I see when I watch that. Is I see, oh, that reminds me of my father. Now my father doesn't live in a house that looks like that. My father doesn't eat that food, but the things he was talking about, working really hard and being satisfied and finding a sense of satisfaction in the effort and the labor that you put forth in order to, do well for your family, is something that I see that and I think, yeah, that's familiar to me, for sure. Yeah.
I thought the philosophy was commendable, where he said it's not money. You can make all of the money, but if you don't have happiness, if you don't have something else, then what's your life worth? What did you see? And why is that worthy of attention?
I actually saw a little bit of my father as well. In the philosophy, actually. He says, as long as I have my family, I have everything, is something I hear quite a lot from my dad. But the idea that you don't need a perfect house or as much money as other people to be totally happy is a very profound idea. And I appreciated that.
Is that something that you feel you could live in this area, where you don't need a lot of money to be happy? Can you be happy without a lot?
Maybe not in this area. I mean, I suppose my family is not the richest in the area. We're kind of the middle class of the Palo Alto, Silicon Valley tech
That says a lot.
So I guess our definition of not a lot of money is different from other people that may not have as much. But I don't know. As long as you have money, even if you don't have money, you can still be happy.
You know, when you talked about, David, people seeing themselves in other people's places, that reminded me of a movie maybe more than a decade ago called Trading Places. So as you see these videos, and you talked about you could have a conversation with Edith, I think, from Malawi. Of all the 10 videos you've seen, was there anybody in those videos with whom you could trade places?
I'm not sure. Definitely, I know Rumi and Edith and Jana best, I guess, out of all of them. I think is the best answer there.
Was there another country that you saw maybe that you could live in?
I don't know. I don't remember her name, but I remember one woman. She was taking care of a baby, but also driving lots of places.
Oh, that's Basak in
Yes.
Istanbul, in
Yeah,
Turkey.
yeah. She, her interactions with people and the motions that she went through in the minutes that I saw, she seemed to know where she was going and know what she was doing, and enjoying the path that she was on. And her environment, it was kind of a city, but not the city I'm used to. But even so, she seemed like she was in a great place in her life, and trading places with her might be.
Oh, interesting. You seem to appreciate people who have a sense of purpose. I've heard several times you say they seem to know where they were going and what their purpose is. So that resonates with you.
Yeah, I appreciate confidence, I guess, or happiness in what you're doing. I guess, yeah. I have said you go on this.
Yes.
The path to where you want to be, I guess, is it's great to see people who know where they are, know where they're going, and are happy that they're there.
So David, how do you select these people? You've done how many videos?
So we've produced 20 videos in 17 different countries. And so the first 10, we set out to do what I mentioned before, pick 10 people who are roughly representative of the population of the world in terms of geography. So about 61% of the world lives in Asia, so 6 out of those 10 were from Asia. There's 1 North American, 1 South American, 1 African, 1 European. We did the population density, so about 51% of the world is urban. So we had 5 urban, 5 rural. And we went through religion, through income. So just to give you an idea about the income one, to be in the top 10% of income earners in the world, you have to earn more than $36 a day. So that puts you into the top 10%. So we, with that first 10, you can sort of paraphrase that whole process by, we tried to pick 10 people who couldn't be more different from each other. And again, very roughly. With the second set of 10 people, they're all part of what we call a curated set of shoots called Lives in Transit. So it's 10 people who transport goods or people around the world. And that set, we tried to use some of those same demographic criteria, especially geography. Age was a little harder. We couldn't find a lot of transportation workers under 5 years old, for example. So we fudged
Unless
a little bit.
they were transporting themselves.
Yeah, unless
right?
they were, that was about it. Yeah, or their lunchbox or something. Yeah. So then beyond those demographic criteria, we put out a call for proposals from producers around the world. So I've only been to 3 of the 20 locations, and Global Lives has never paid for a single plane ticket for anyone to do any of these shoots all over the world.
And have you paid for the photographers, the cinematographers, the translators?
So pretty much all those people are volunteers, and so the way that works, we give small grants to help cover the out-of-pocket expenses of the film crews that do the shoots, which range from $500 to $2,500. But what we also do is we ask the crews to put together a budget and show what other things they're able to get from other sources and what the value of all the in-kind contributions are. And so if you add up the market rates that these people could be charging and all the equipment that gets loaned for free, usually a shoot would cost $25,000 or $30,000, but that's all gifts from people in our community. A lot of that is based on the same ethos as something like Wikipedia, where volunteers from around the world are writing a free encyclopedia together, and the people who are contributing to it are putting their time and their energy and their labor into it.
Are their names on it?
Yeah, their names
Their
are on it.
names
Yeah.
are on it.
Just like Wikipedia.
There is a lot of work involved in this.
Clearly,
a lot of
clearly.
effort. There is a curriculum. When you present it to the class, your classes, is there any test involved?
No, not in a traditional sense at all. This was actually folded in really organically into our orientation week for the class. It was something that just fit perfectly. And the sort of deliverables in the curriculum, the kind of exit tickets where students sort of demonstrate their grasp of terminology and what they're doing, is in the form of timelines, this kind of concept of the universe of obligation, and their abilities to articulate and convey that. visually as well as verbally. And we centered it around, and the curriculum guides you through this, centers it around both written pieces as well as verbal. So conversations, these are all really fascinating conversation starters. And part of it that's connected to some of the Common Core and some of the sort of the business of doing school is around this question about how to develop inductive reasoning skills. So how to look at information and draw conclusions. And that's the great thing about connecting this kind of content to sort of the skill sets that need to happen for our students, is you create something that's both sort of ethically worthwhile as well as scholastically valuable. And so students when they decide, oh, I saw Prakash there, I saw Jana there, and I came to this conclusion about them. And when you walk them back through, well, what exactly did you see what pieces of evidence did you see that allowed you to draw that conclusion? And of course, part of the empathy building is identifying where were the assumptions that you made, particularly around maybe some of the differences. And now let's go back and let's see how valid your conclusions are based on the evidence that you drew. So that's kind of that. I like that kind of stuff. I like how it's hitting all those little bases, right? Two birds, one stone. I love that.
And it's storytelling.
Exactly.
So, Nadia, Erin mentioned ethics. We heard David talk about responsibility and morals. What ethics is involved or are involved in what you've seen, or have you seen anything in terms of what you would consider moral values and ethics that would make you feel responsible for anybody?
That's tough.
I'll let you think about that. I just want to add one thing, because you said we have something really important to say.
I should tell the audience. I told the three of my guests, if there's something you want to say, make sure you say it.
So I think one of the things that Global Lives offers that over the years of doing this, I thought after we did 10 shoots, it would be done. But a lot of the filmmakers came to me after those 10 were done and said, we want to do more of these shoots. And I said, all right, do we really want to keep doing this 24-hour thing? It's kind of hard, because it really is logistically hard. You run out of batteries, the crew gets exhausted.
But you're not doing it.
Well, I was part of 3 of the crews, and then I'm also pretty deeply involved in the post-production, which, just to give you an idea, when we did the first 24-hour shoot, we couldn't afford to buy a hard drive that could hold all the 24 hours digitally. So when we edited the short version of it, we had to edit 2 hours at a time, then delete the raw footage, and then import another 2 hours, and then edit it and delete the raw footage. So just, I mean,
So if you wanted to go back to something that you wanted to re-edit, it was gone?
Yeah, except we have the tapes, so I still have, but now I've had enough of that. But like for a long time, the office was just my living room and my bedroom, and for a while I had so many hard drives running in my bedroom, I didn't need heating in my house because they actually generate a lot of heat. But yeah, but there's a reason for that 24.
A big electric bill.
A big electric bill, yeah. Yeah, there's a reason for that 24 hours, and you know, one of our directors from India actually told me, oh, the 24 hours is Global Lives' USP. And I didn't even know what that meant, but apparently it means the unique selling point. And you know, it's what makes Global Lives different. And then he explained to me, you know, why. And I think the why is that people, I bet there are people that you're very close to, that you know, and that maybe you see every day or every week, and you don't know what their house looks like. You don't know if they pray when they get home, or you know, who they live with, or what kind of car they drive, or you know, what's in their bedroom. Like, there's just so much you don't know about people.
And I
right?
would question you and say, but why should I care?
Yeah, and I think why should you care is a really good question, right? But I think that you know, Nadia talked about the personality of the people in these videos, right? In 24 hours. It's a very short amount of time, but it's also a longer amount of time than most of us, myself included, have time to actually watch the entirety of. And so it gives you this very deep and deep opportunity to get to really know someone's personality and to get to really know someone's family and their life. And I like to get to know people. I don't know if you do.
Okay, so back to you, Nadia. I don't know if you had thinking time or you were thinking about what he said.
A little bit of both.
I have another question for you, but in terms of moral values or ethics.
Well, I remember seeing a bunch of scenarios in the videos where there could be opportunity for conflict. I remember watching Rumi in her wheelchair. There were a bunch of situations where she's just walking down the street and people choose to get out of the way. But it's that could have been something. That could have been, there's a word.
Caring? A reflection of thoughtfulness? I shouldn't put words in your mouth. That could have been, why would people get out of the way?
Caring is a good word, yes. I'm not quite sure if I'm trying to stay here still. But the opportunity for morals to be tested, I think, were present in some of these videos. Because in your everyday life, there are people you meet, there are encounters you have where you are waiting for a reaction, and seeing people go through their day, you notice these in general, especially with Rumi, I think.
Now, you lead me into my question that I had thought of after your remarks. And we talk about the word moral, and I think of value judgments. Because, you know, as you're seeing somebody's life, you can actually say, well, I don't know if they should be doing that. And casting judgment. So what part, rather than acceptance of what they're doing, who they are, what their purpose is, so where is there room for that moral judgment on what people are doing? Like, they're not doing that the way I would do it. Is that wrong or is that right? Or is there even an issue of right or wrong?
Well, I think that is one of the things that goes back to something David said a little bit earlier about the sort of artistic value of the Global Lives exhibit and documentaries, is because it's not the film style of a narrative being told by the filmmaker using this person's life as a canvas and sort of cutting and editing, because it's sort of the naked camera watching this person. Any kind of value or judgment that's brought is something that's brought by the viewer, and that interpretation, right, is, and we were saying the other night at the gathering that is sort of a function of art, is that it's open for interpretation. But doing that, it lays bare for the viewer that those values are something that they're projecting onto what they're seeing, and so they have to take responsibility for that. And I think that that's part of the ethical piece that that as an adult viewer of the documentaries that I come away with is sort of, okay, when I come to conclusions about what I'm seeing, when I draw judgments about that, that's me. That's not the filmmaker.
But would most people, and of course I haven't talked to most people, do you think the average person, whoever average is, would look at something and say, well, I'm the one bringing the judgment to it? Because instead of building empathy, you could very well be building, not you, but there could be a sense of criticism. I don't like this person. I don't like what they're doing. I don't identify with this person. So it could go a lot of different ways.
I think that's the function of the curriculum, particularly with young people who are interacting with this. It's the function of the curriculum is to help them reflect on the choices that they're making regarding the conclusions they draw from the film. And so that is something that that's been helpful because I haven't experienced that with my students, although I think that's a super valid question to ask. And I could see that that could be something that happens, particularly with younger people, although anybody could be vulnerable to that. But the curriculum is really clear about laying bare people's, implicit
Because
bias.
I'm just thinking a lot of, no, here I go again, a lot. But many people could look at someone in Malawi, for instance, and rather than identifying with them, say, my culture or my way of doing things is higher or better.
Well, maybe I can add something to this. So when I say the word Palestinian, think about all of the different images you've seen on TV or in media or in movies of Palestinians. And think about how those images might be politically charged, might have violence in them, might have anger. When you watch the video from Global Lives of Jamila, who at the time of the shoot was a 9-year-old girl growing up in a Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon, Shatila is the name of the camp, you just see her going to school. And you see her coming home to her family and her father who's sick. And you see her singing, you see her dancing, and you see what homes look like on the inside. And you see her much more as a person, and that portrayal is so different from what all of the things that you see in other types of media about the Palestinian people, that I think I've seen a lot of audiences interact with that footage. It really changes things for people, especially in a lot of schools. We show the footage of Jamila in school, and so students who are in one country watching a student in another country, they say, oh, okay, that's what it's like to be in school.
We have a few seconds left, just a few seconds. Famous last words.
You don't have to have money to be happy.
Erin.
Thank you.
Well, in the few seconds left, let me thank you. And Global Lives has a website that can be found at
globallives.org.
globallives.org. Well, we've gotten a little insight into Global Lives Project, what it's all about, what it can mean to us, to the rest of the world. I'd like to thank the three of you for sharing, and I'd certainly like to thank our viewers for watching. Until next time.